This is the Team Objection podcast for October 18th, 2018, episode 364. And there's just... What?
Two of us.
Oh,
That's
two
it.
of us. Yeah. Just me and him.
That guy.
See
and
how
me.
I pointed right away, though?
Yeah.
I knew.
That guy? I knew.
Yeah.
That guy.
I know.
And me.
It's practice.
We
When's
got
the
it
last
eventually.
time we had just the two of us? I mean, it has to be back way before kids, I think.
No, we had the two of us. Well, it was right before my second kid was born, I think.
Mm.
And then I think we had another one that was just the two of us where we talked about the Suns for a half hour.
That might be correct.
So,
I don't remember it, but that sounds familiar.
I mean, that's kind of what we do every once in a while. I mean, that's what we talk the shit a lot. We just shoot the shit about that a lot.
Well, I
so.
considered doing that this week. It's weird timing because the Suns debut last night as of this airing, but tomorrow night as of this recording. But we also had all the Ryan McDonough stuff that we could have talked about, and
I don't even like.
I don't want to.
That just hurts my heart to talk about. I had this. As you can see in the background, everyone. I am not at home again. I'm on another hotel.
It's Hotel Dave.
It's Hotel Dave. He's back. Hotel Dave 2, Electric Boogaloo. But anyway, so I'm on another hotel, and I'm tripping New Jersey this time. And so I have somebody that's in my work meeting with me is a big Celtics fan, and he knows I'm a Suns fan. And so he looks at me and he goes, "Didn't you guys just fire your GM last week?" I'm like, "Yeah,
You're right.
we did."
Yep.
You're not wrong. 9 days before the season started, it sucks ass.
You should have been like, wasn't he Danny Ainge's former assistant? Wasn't he supposed to be good? Did you lie to us?
Yeah. It's funny how that he's such a diehard Celtics fan. It's like he was a big fan of Marcus Morris, and I'm like, I hate Marcus Morris.
Well, that's because Marcus Morris actually plays like he gives a shit for the Celtics, so I can see how people would like him. He's one of those, scrappier, get up in somebody else's jersey annoyance players that you love to have and hate to face.
Now, I hated him when he was on my team, so I don't know what to say about that.
Same.
Yeah.
He played decently well tonight, and that's a disappointment to me.
I know. It hurts my heart. But
Oh, well.
So, anyway, another trip. This one is, I think, much more subdued than the last time. I'm not doing much of anything. I flew in early the other day and was asleep by 10 o'clock Eastern, which is 7 o'clock at my house, which was kind of nice. I was like, oh, I adjusted to the East Coast time quickly. This is amazing.
So I'm going to have a similar adventure next month. Now I'm going to
Ooh, really?
Chicago for an editors conference. And I'm sure I should not be putting my employer on blast, but I'm going to do it anyways because that's the honesty that the listeners expect from me and this show.
I mean, who's gonna give you something bad? Who's gonna reprimand you?
I don't know.
You're in
Some
charge.
higher up who watches and goes, "Hey, he's not representing the company."
Well,
So they sent out an email last week saying that, hey, we're looking at this, what's becoming a biannual conference, and it's usually held somewhere in the Midwest because that's where the majority of the papers are owned, if not the vast majority. That's all fine. That's all well and good, right? No problem so far. Easy going.
makes sense. Yep.
They tell us the dates they're looking at are November 7th through 9th. It's a Wednesday through a Friday, which is what the last conference was. I didn't go on that one, obviously. I wasn't running at the time, but I was aware because I filled in for my boss when he did.
Makes sense. That's a solid, normal time to go on a business trip.
November 7th through 9th, as mentioned, a Wednesday through Friday. What's that Tuesday?
Oh, boy.
And you're not even in newspapers, but you can do the math and figure out that's the first Tuesday of November, and as all of our American listeners, and hopefully most listeners would know, that's Election Day.
Mm-hmm.
So their idea was, let's have everybody fly out to Chicago the day after Election Day. And keep in mind, we have a later deadline than most. Ours is almost midnight, so we can often get in those late results as they're coming in. A lot of times the County Recorder's site starts having finalized results at like 10 p.m., so we can get them. A lot of papers can't.
Well,
so
yeah,
their
especially East Coast
Wednesday
ones.
is going to be aggregating all those results and actually putting the winners in the paper. And so I think something like 12 to 15 of the 40-plus papers that are in this conglomerate all emailed in response to that and went, you fucking what?
I hope they said exactly that, too.
Yeah, with a W-O-T. You what, mate? You what? You got core blimey, you what?
That's a horrible idea. I mean, I know they probably didn't want it too close to Thanksgiving, but just do it the next week.
Yeah. So luckily, within the hour, I believe, maybe hour and a half tops, they sent out an email that basically said, "We hear you loud and clear. It's the following week."
There you go. Makes sense.
So mid-November, I'm going to Chicago.
Ooh, nice.
In talking to my family, I actually feel like they had a good idea, which was I should probably try to see Hamilton while I'm there.
I don't blame you one bit. It's you can enter the lottery, which is a thing I've been doing when I'm here in New Jersey. I'm close enough to New York. I entered the lottery, did not win. So, but if you win the lottery, you just spend $10 on a ticket, which is yes,
Yeah.
you want to do that.
Yeah, I'll do that, and I don't even mind if I pay full price. I'd obviously prefer not to, but
yeah, I mean, you can probably get a ticket for that one for a couple $100 for just one ticket. You can probably get a couple $100. I would highly recommend it.
I kind of have to. And it's the thing I can do that's the most interesting to me because I'm not going to have a lot of time for sightseeing. Like your trip, I fly in Wednesday. I do have that day to do whatever, but I can only fly in so early since I'm working the night before. So I have part of Wednesday and then Thursday fully booked, like 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Friday is booked up until lunch, at which point you don't have a hotel room anymore, obviously. So the presumption is you'll be flying out. I might just stay Friday night and book a hotel room for myself. But even then, that gives me, part of Friday and part of maybe Saturday morning before I have to fly out. So the opportunities are limited. And I figure either Wednesday or Friday night, I could probably try and sneak over there.
Well, it'll be cheaper for sure Wednesday night, so you definitely want to do the Wednesday night show. That's kind of
my intention, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, it's well worth it. I saw it, and it's so hyped, and I don't even say overhyped because it's not. It's that good.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard the soundtrack, and I actually kind of like seeing musicals in this way, hearing the soundtrack and then seeing it. So like Avenue Q was another example of that. When we saw it down in Tempe, I had heard the music, but I had not really seen any of the script, as it were. So there were some jokes and the segments between songs or how they led into songs in context that were also kind of cool to see, having had some experience with it.
That was actually Avenue Q was an interesting one with me because I had only heard it barely even heard it before I saw it on Broadway years ago, and I went with my family. So that one was one where I got to see it, which was really cool because it was new to me at the time. But then, like Hamilton, I had the whole soundtrack memorized before I saw it in Phoenix. So I'm like, yeah, I can just sing along while I'm watching this. But actually seeing it performed was 10 times better than hearing the soundtrack. So
yeah,
it was worth it both ways.
And I am not in the right city or even the right state, really, to ever experience the catch on to a phenomenon before it latches on bit. I have to imagine that's the best experience. But again, that's not one that's available to me. So I think I enjoy going in knowing the score more than just going in blind.
I don't know if I told you this story actually about Hamilton, but my parents got to see it in 2013, when it was brand new.
You have told me, yeah, they were hipsters about it, and I was like,
They had somebody told them that, hey, there's this musical, you've got to go see it. So they went and saw it in New York before it was popular, so it wasn't super expensive, and Stephen Colbert was in the audience with them. It's like, all right, well, sure, whatever.
Stephen Colbert also an early adopter, as it turned out.
Yeah, well, if you live in New York like that, if you're one of those guys who live in New York and one of the celebrities in New York, people tell you early about that stuff.
And you get a ticket.
So, yeah, exactly. Well, and so my dad told me, he's like, well, when I saw Colbert was in the audience, I knew the show was legit.
I mean, he's got that musical theater connection. There's got to be some merit to it.
Yep. So I was very jealous of that because he saw the original cast, saw it before everyone knew it was cool. It's like, I wish I could have done that, but...
Of course, the person who famously saw it really before it was cool at all is Obama and everybody else at that White House where they had that kind of grant for different performers, and Lin-Manuel did it kind of solo, just the opening number. It's really weird to go back and see that now, knowing that Lin-Manuel obviously has ascended to stardom, but back then he's just kind of this unassuming looking guy who's performing in front of the president and the first lady, this thing that's about to become a phenomenon, but nobody in the room knows it. Even Lin-Manuel himself does not know at all.
Nope. I cannot imagine performing in front of the president. I'd be losing my goddamn mind. And I don't care if I like or hate the president. I'd still be losing my mind.
Yeah, it's one of the weird things. I mean, I get the political aspects of it, but if I were on a team that won a championship, I don't know if I would just turn down the offer to go out of hand, even if I was an ardent, opponent of the president who's in there at the time. I get why teams do it. I don't want to fault it, but at the same time, I'm like, that's kind of a unique opportunity to go in the White House.
Yeah, meet them and have a meeting with them and take photos. That's stuff that you might never have another chance to do this again.
And it's not like it's an endorsement. It's not like you show up, do your stupid hour tour, go in the room for 10 minutes, do a photo, shake hands with him once, and then you go, okay, well, I guess that means I'm a Trump fan now, or whoever, Obama, whomever. Like, it doesn't. You can do that and still not have to compromise on your beliefs. To me, I don't know. It's peer pressure, though.
It's tough in society in that sense. It's like if you're seen with somebody, it means you support them, which I don't know. I'm not a fan of that.
No, me neither. Me neither.
So I'm thinking we have. I can't talk about the Suns game, and I'm hoping that they do well this season. I so hope that Booker is an all-star. I hope that things somehow magically turn into a semi-respectable season.
I don't think
that's all I've
Booker's an
got
all-star.
for right now.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Hurts my heart.
I think he would be in the East.
Yeah.
But he won't in the West. Because any spots that opened up, one of which was filled by LeBron, and yes, he's front court and not back court like Booker, but it doesn't matter. It's still a spot on the team.
No. Mm-hmm.
I don't see it happening. If it's been this much of a struggle for players like Damian Lillard, I just don't see how Booker's a shoot. Now, if he goes out and he starts posting like 27, 6, and 6 this season, it might still happen. But there's no way the Suns are above 500 at the All-Star break, so...
But what if they are?
Yeah.
What if?
I'm still waiting for that point guard trade. We have T-minus like 21 hours until the season starts.
Hey, Jamal Crawford.
I mean, I would have... I don't hate the signing. People are like, he used to play some point guard. I'm like, yeah, he also used to not be 38 years old. So if you think
there's that.
If you think he's a starting point guard, I don't know what the fuck you're smoking, but I wouldn't want any of it because I'm assuming it's going to give me brain damage.
I mean, it makes you see things that might not be true. Maybe make you happier temporarily.
Perception becomes reality, I guess, but
yeah.
No.
I mean, I figure I'm 33 and I'm washed up. He's 38, so he's got to be washed up, right?
Yeah, very washed. Sure, he's got NBA-level training staffs and diet regimen probably extending his career.
No. Doesn't matter.
The truth is, though, most players are washed up at our age.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at Dwayne Wade. He's a year older than us, or 2 years older than us, maybe, and he's done.
I think he's 36 this season, but the point still stands.
Yeah, he's not that much older.
No, he's around our age, and he's one of the elites. He's maybe a top 50 all-time player, and I'm not saying he can't contribute to Miami this year, but he will not be a focal point. He might not even be one of their 7 best players.
Carmelo's the same way. I think he's 34, maybe, and same deal. He's done.
Well, look
have fun on Houston.
Even for non-stars, it kind of happens. Like David West just retired. Mm-hmm. David West at his peak was, I think, a 3 or 4-time All-Star. He ended up winning 2 titles. Like a very good player overall. His decline was like...
boom, off a cliff. Yep.
It's what's sort of impressive about athletes like, even though I begrudgingly say this, Tom Brady or a Steve Nash, for example, anybody who really extends their career past what's supposed to be their prime, to me, I think deserves more credit than they get.
It's all about how you take care of your body at that point. And if you hear what Steve Nash did to take care of his body, what Tom Brady does now to take care of his body, it's unfathomable. Like, I could not imagine doing that, but then again, I'm not being paid millions of dollars a year for my body to be in tip-top shape. Yeah, so
to do only that.
If you paid me millions of dollars a year, I would probably have avocado ice cream and stuff like that. So, okay, I would do that, I guess, for millions.
No avocado ice cream.
I would. If you're going to pay me, what Steve Nash is making, $12 million a year or something like that, bring it on. Bring on the avocados. I will do it.
I guess. But I don't want to be a millennial, so... No.
That's avocado toast. Come on.
No, anything avocado that's not actually just the traditional things of avocado, like, guacamole, or on certain things that go with avocado. No. It's the same with bacon. As much as I like bacon, unlike avocado, there are certain things bacon shouldn't be a part of, and we have collectively lost our minds as a nation and just started putting it in everything, and I'm like, that's too far. It's too far.
So, this has been a thing for a long time, but chocolate-dipped bacon. Thoughts?
I had it once. It was okay. It didn't add anything to me. It subtracted.
Yeah. See, I'm going to the state fair on Friday, and I know there's all those fried foods, those chocolate dip things, bacon, everything, popcorn. Like, no thanks. I don't want chocolate dip bacon. I don't want any of that. It just
what little of it I've tried, because it's really not my level of expertise or my wheelhouse, I haven't liked because I just don't feel good after I eat it. Even if it is kind of tasty, afterwards I'm like, well, I feel like shit, probably because I ate shit.
Exactly.
So,
Although,
like, chocolate and bacon, I get it, because obviously it's the same concept behind chicken and
salty
waffles to
sweet.
some extent. Yeah, this idea, this combination of two disparate tastes that really work well together. But I'd rather just have bacon. If
Yeah,
I'm
me
eating
too.
bacon, I'm
I'd
eating
rather just
bacon.
chocolate.
If I'm eating chocolate, I want chocolate. I've never really had a point
Exactly.
where I'm like, I'm craving both. And it's like, I don't have to worry about being hormonal and pregnant, so I don't ever understand when that's going to come up in my life. It's not going to.
True story. Although, deep fried Oreos, those are amazing.
I'll,
Those are so good.
I'll stick to the white fudge ones, thanks.
That's, I mean, both are good, but deep fried Oreos have like one or two of them. That's all I need. Just,
Oh,
a
well,
little
yeah,
powdered
no,
sugar on top.
no more.
No, but
The
you
white
have
fudge
those.
Oreos are the
I have,
same. I get one box every Christmas. I eat like one in
mm,
a sitting. So there's like 12. There's not very many in the box, unfortunately, but however many there are, they last a little while, and then I'm like, okay, that's
it's
it.
the 12 days of Christmas for you.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
See you next year.
Buy white fudge Oreos. I have those deep fried Oreos one time a year. I go to the state fair once a year. I have it then, and that's it. I don't want it any other time.
And that's fine. It's a experience you associate with each other, so it's not a problem.
It's a true story.
Speaking
So
of the state
it's
fair, look at this segue. It's a good thing you didn't try and go last weekend.
it flooded.
Yeah.
Literally, Phoenix was flooding, which that makes me think. The hurricanes have always been a horrible, horrible thing for most of the country. But in my own selfish way, we got the remnants of a hurricane coming through Phoenix, and it was amazing. We got rain for a week. It was great.
I'm sure it was neat and different for you. I drove down this past Saturday for a bachelor party and
Oh yeah, it's pouring all
drove
day.
through it, basically from Cordes Junction south going on, which is about 30 minutes north of Phoenix for those who don't know, and then had to drive around in it for the activities we were doing. One of the activities we were going to do was a big hike. Of course, that got canceled
Nope,
because
not happening.
it was pouring.
Because
And
water.
yeah, but even then, so like we went axe throwing, which we'll talk about in a minute. But afterwards, even just some of the surface streets trying to get back to the 202 were in very real danger of shorting out any cars with shorter undercarriages than mine. I also got dunked a few times because I was going, maybe 20 through it, trying not to go super fast, and some cars are just, whoosh, and it was just a wall of water over the top.
So I was driving on the 101 that day, and I definitely hydroplaned trying to accelerate on the 101. My speedometer went, boom. I'm like, whoa, that's not natural. Like I have not seen it move up that quickly
Yeah.
before.
I've
Normally
only
you have the friction
hydroplaned.
of a road.
Yeah. I've only hydroplaned that badly once in my life, and you were in the car for it. It was
I
a
think,
trip
yeah.
back from Colorado going down Wolf Creek Pass, which is like 14,000 feet and subject to a lot of weather sometimes. And it was pouring, and even though I wasn't going over the speed limit or even at the speed limit, I was going underneath, but maybe too fast for the conditions. And that feeling once was enough to be like, okay, nope,
Never again.
Nope, I'm good.
So mine was weird because it didn't feel like anything. I just didn't accelerate. And then I took my foot off the gas, let it resettle, and then I went. So like I wasn't in danger or anything, but it was just a weird thing seeing my speedometer just go up so quickly.
Yeah. This one didn't. It happened a couple real small times that day, but I was going at a much more cautious speed. So at that point, I was like, okay, like I can feel a bit of loss of control, but I also know it's not going to last because this is just a big puddle or whatever,
Yep.
But even so, it was just amazing to me. It's like this is really happening today. It was the 10th most rain of any day in Phoenix history. For the listeners to understand, the 10th most rain of any day ever in a city that, while it doesn't get a ton of rain, obviously it's Phoenix, it's known for its sun, but it gets the monsoons every year where it's likely to pour at least once or twice every summer. 10th most ever.
The difference was that day was it rained steadily all day. Monsoons are like pour for 20 minutes and it's done.
Yeah,
this
poured
rained steadily all day
for like 6 hours. It just did not stop. It didn't even really slow. It just kept coming.
And for people around the country, they're like, so what?
Yeah, but remember,
like me.
So like on the East Coast, obviously, Hurricane Michael, the most recent example of things that a lot of places are having to cope with, and it's a real tough time for Florida. Dave, of course, last time he was traveling was near the Carolinas where they were going through stuff. I get that. And they have it much worse than we do, obviously. However, a lot of these cities are much more prepared for this volume of water because they know it's a risk going in. It's not that much in Phoenix.
Nope, we get washes that flood quickly.
Yeah, and streets that are not meant to handle that volume of water, and thus they flood very quickly.
Yep. That was they showed a picture of the state fair in Phoenix where it was just like all the booths had water like 2 feet up.
Yeah.
Just standing water. It's like, oh boy, this is a problem.
Yep, and you can see poor people in like the parking lot just trying to get strollers to their car, and it just looked like, ugh, not what
Yeah,
you expect when you want to go have a fun day out at the fair.
No, not at the Arizona State Fair.
So that was miserable. That was a long day. It was like 8 a.m. I left Flagstaff to make it down because the plan had to change. The original plan was to go hiking in Flagstaff. We were supposed to get rain and possibly snow, so we went, okay, I'll leave first thing in the morning. We'll do it in Phoenix because it won't pour in Phoenix. It poured in Phoenix. And then we went to like 3 in the morning for the bachelor party. So long-ass day with a lot of bad driving and just, ugh.
So I'm going to let you finish. There's one thing we need to address is the elephant in the room real quick. Where are these guys? Usually
one
that way, I guess.
has a birthday and one has a friend in town. And
it's so depressing. Our other guys just gone, whatever. It would have been a fun episode if on Shaun's birthday we recorded, but no.
No, not important enough.
No.
Here I am.
Here I am. I travel across the country, and here I am.
Yeah.
Rock you like a hurricane.
I've never missed an episode, and you can say, well, that's because there's no episode if you're not there. It's like, I guess, but how many episodes have we missed because of me in 7 years? 5?
Not many.
Maybe. I mean, other than times when we couldn't do anything at all because we had like no internet for 2 months when we were moving that one time, for example, but that's not on anybody's fault. That's just circumstances.
You know, a lesser show would have canceled, but no. We trudged on.
I do have a looming problem with the aforementioned election night where I'm like, I'm sure as hell not doing a show that night. So
you might
when am I doing
earlier.
that one? Yeah, Sunday maybe, I don't know.
Anyway, continue with your story. I heard about axes. I'm curious.
We went and chucked axes, and that was good because at the time I was like, I don't know. I mean, I've heard of it, I've never really done it, but it would end up being a good physical offset for the hiking we couldn't do because it was actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever done it or heard of it, but
I want to say I've heard of it. Was it just like, a target up on a tree or something like that, and you just overhand chucked it at it?
Well, it was an indoor one. I think there are outdoor ones that are like that. This one was indoors, which was important because of the rain, although the roof was leaking in several spots because it was a torrential 100-year storm. But it was indoors, so it was kind of like sort of like a shooting range of sorts. There was more room for you to move around inside where you would normally be shooting down like this corridor because you had to actually be in there to chuck the axe instead of being back at a distance shooting. But at the end, it was just like a column with cages, very sturdy cages on both sides, so that if anything like bounced off the board, it wasn't going to go into the next lane and kill someone. And yeah.
Oh, God, what happened?
Yeah, the ricochet, he died.
Yeah, it's fine. Whatever.
Wood boards that were essentially set up like a skee ball table, which is to say, a bullseye target, but then also there was kind of this weird thing that they use in league play, which, by the way, is apparently a thing, axe throwing league play, where there's 2 little dots up in the top corners, kind of like the 100,000 spots in skee ball.
Try to hit those spots.
And they're worth 7 points. It's like 1 point for the outer ring, 3 for the middle, 5 for the bullseye. And the little green dots, which are smaller than the bullseye, are worth 7 apiece, but you can only go for it on the last throw if you're behind.
Man, there's so many rules I wouldn't have known about.
I know. And I'm like, so what if you're down like 10 points with 2 to go? Are you just done? You just pack it up because you lost?
You hit the 5 and the 7, I guess. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's like if you're down, 15 going into the last 2 throws, then what? Just walk away, kill your opponent? I mean, I don't know. You have an implement, you could do it. But yeah, all sorts of rules and regulations to it, which makes sense. You want to be safe when you have axes in play. You can't just be cavalier about chucking them. But then again, they let you start bringing in alcohol as early as 4 p.m., so how much is safety important? You be the judge.
So I would have figured that the only rule would be don't kill someone, don't maim someone, somewhere along those lines. Don't let axe enter skin. That's about it, right?
They even had us doing trick shots. So, they would show off some where they could be walking away from the target and then chuck it kind of underneath behind them.
That type of...
essentially. Yeah, you're a little more zoomed out so you can show it better. Yeah, and they were good at it. Like, the main guy who was, really, really practiced at it could do it pretty much every time. He had a couple different trick throws you could do. They were showing us how to do it, and at one point, somebody did basically the equivalent of the Nick Young. So they were walking away, they chucked the thing, they celebrated sort of. They didn't do the 3 thing, but yeah, they celebrated, of course, not looking back to see where it had gone. It had gone over the target, over the 7 pointers, into the logo that was a good 5 feet above the target. That was a logo of axes. So it was like, yeah, no. And then I showed them that GIF, and they were like, "Oh yeah, yeah."
So if I was in that area, I'd be like, yeah, that's what I meant to do. Like,
Totally, yeah.
duh.
I knew
That's
that all
exactly what I meant
along.
to do. You guys thought I was gonna hit the target. No, I hit all the other axes with an axe.
By the way, and I encourage our listeners and viewers to go check out Nick Young Missed 3 so you can see the video
Yes.
/GIF/photo. I'm coming around on the photo where the ball is a good 4 feet right of the basket, and he's just got the pose up. I think the photo is almost the funniest thing at this point. Better than the video, better than the GIF.
There's so many good NBA gifs out there that I can just appreciate so much.
Yeah.
That's one of the best ones. The Nick Young Missed 3. There's one I was talking to you about last week, Chris, where there's a old basketball player named Alonzo Mourning, and in the GIF you can see the score. His team is losing by a ton, and he's sitting on the bench just depressed, and all of a sudden he just picks up. He goes, "All right, okay." It's
Yeah, I know.
this acceptance all of a sudden.
God, we are getting our ass beat. We are getting whooped. Yeah, we deserve this. Yeah.
But it's all right.
Yeah. Yeah. How are we down 30 points? Yeah, no, that's how. Yeah, we suck. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the Raptor
So-
mascot falling down, which is great. That was the
There's
highlight of
these
the Raptors
small-
for me. For the longest time was there, and the Suns had this briefly too, where there's inflatable mascot and then miniaturized version that's also inflatable of mascot. And I love the little inflatable mascot.
They just walk around so odd, where it's like they punch almost
Yeah,
when they
kind
walk.
of.
It's,
What is this?
There's-
What is this life you've constructed for yourself?
I don't know. The inflatable Raptors mascot eating the cheerleader was kind of amazing too.
Yeah. Well, once you get rid of the gag reflex, you can put pretty much anything down there. What?
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, no, and that's our show. But yeah, mascot fun, NBA gifs. Gifs in general, I just kind of enjoy. A well-constructed gif, especially now that Vine is gone, is sort of like that in the 3-panel comic that's done really well. That really short, quick-hitting humor is what gets me.
Yeah, the best gifts are the one you watch once, kind of giggle at, and then when you continue watching, it just gets better each time you see it. You just laugh harder each time you see it, and then you don't even know when to stop.
Yeah. The inception of the cat looking at the laptop and then turning to look at the screen gets me every time. That's why I used it for 2 years, and it was my Facebook profile picture for 5. The dog having PTSD with the cupcakes or the cake, whichever it is, gets me every
Just
time.
staring at it.
The cat with the flower on its head gets me every time, where he goes. Every time.
I sent you guys a GIF last week, and I wish we could show our viewers it. But if you look up, there's a Legends of the Hidden Temple GIF where the kids start their thing where they're going in the temple. They run in. The kid doesn't even enter the temple, and a temple guard pops out, and the kid's just like, well, okay, here's my pendant of life.
He's in the entryway. The entryway to the
Literally
temple.
entryway.
You might as well just had Kirk Fall just take the fucking pendant before he started. It would have saved time.
It's ridiculous.
The second the guy pops up, there is still just barely 2:58 on the 3-minute clock. It really ticks over to 2:57. It's less than 2 seconds in.
And I don't think you have options on your entrance, do you?
No, there's the one entrance, as far as
There's
I
the
know.
one entrance.
Even from that
So
first
you had-
room, depending on the temple layout, there's usually at least a couple pass in the very first room after that, but
That was it. There's
you
nothing
gotta go
can
through
do about
Olmec's
it.
gate. That's the whole thing. It lowers and he makes that noise. It's a whole thing. They put a temple guard there because they were feeling really assholey that day.
That was definitely one of those ones where I watched it multiple times and it got funnier each time I watched it.
I did a quick search after that when you showed that last week because I wanted to try and figure out what episode that was from, and I couldn't do it. I didn't try that hard, to be fair, but I want to actually see the whole context. I want to hear what Kirk's reaction is. I want to see if the fans boo. I'm sure they don't, but
You know that Kirk's reaction was like, "Oh, well, there's a temple guard. That's going to cost you a pendant."
I think Kirk
That's it.
put him
It's like,
there. I think Kirk put him there, and he's a son of a bitch.
What was his problem? So vengeful.
I think he was day drinking a lot. I think that makes sense given the fact that he was a middle-aged man running basically a Nickelodeon show where his career stalled, surrounded by a bunch of kids with monochromatic uniforms on. I don't think that was his highlight.
He couldn't even make up cool nicknames like Mike O'Malley. So
No, and he didn't have Mo. He just had a rock.
he had a rock.
That's all he had.
Charlie Brown. I got a rock.
He had a rock. And temple guards that accost children at the first sight. So, not a great existence.
still a fantastic TV show.
This should become a Legends of the Hidden Temple podcast, and we should talk about it every week. We should live watch shows and comment on them. We should make our own version at home. We should do everything.
I mean, it probably do well.
There was a time, to go way back in this show's existence, where I thought about using the Temple Run music as the background music for Buzzer Beater.
It's a good little, like, upbeat type of, like, all right, let's get this going. Should last about 3 minutes. Perfect.
Which is the problem, because Buzzer Beater, when it was really in full swing, was like a 10-minute segment. Most weeks we kind of would just go off on a whole bunch of things.
Or the buzzer went off and we just keep talking, because who cares?
Yeah, that too. It's our show. Who gives a damn?
Exactly.
The problem with the Legends of the Hidden Temple theme, or at least the version I found of it, I'm not sure if it's the one that played on the show, is like it sounds like one of those old Casio keyboards where, like in the 80s, you had these keyboards that were maybe 24 keys, so you might get 2 or 3 C2Cs. And technology being limited as it was at the time, you could hit maybe 3 at a time, and then if you hit the 4th one, it just got rid of the first one you hit. So if you're trying to play like 4 or 5 note different things at the same time, you would just be making some kind of horrible cacophony of notes that don't last as long as they should, and then stomp over other notes, and that's what that sounds like. If you go back and listen, somebody was just like and having a great time hitting the hell out of those keys. I'll play it for you after the show.
That sounds great.
It's going to take a theme you like and not ruin it per se, but change it a little.
Well, you've always been more into music for me, so it's I don't even really remember the tune that well. I just kind of remember the feeling behind it.
It was a very simple tune. It was basically notes that went up and then notes that went down, and then a part that repeated, and then it was basically the same song 3 times. So you could kind of sort of tell when about a minute had passed because it looped sort of. There was different, like a couple different like harmony notes or something, but it was the same idea. Not much to it. Somebody did not spend a lot of time at Nickelodeon thinking up that theme.
I don't think they had the budget back then.
No, especially early on in the show's start, because they were not that popular yet.
Mm-mm.
Then again, when you think about things like the theme song for What Would You Do, you realize that, they weren't spending money on music at all.
I mean, the show's theme song was the name of the show, just repeated multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
It's catchy, though.
What?
Would you do? I don't remember that one.
What would you do? Very 90s. Epitome of 90s. There are several things you can point to that are epitome of 90s. That theme song is way up there.
As is Mark Summers' outfit. I mean, that was totally 90s.
And hair.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the nice things about having all the kids in uniforms for things like Guts and Hidden Temple and all those, because at least then you didn't have to see what awful shit they were wearing otherwise.
You didn't see like these bright yellow and purple, triangle-shaped patterns on their shirts like the early 90s was wearing. It's like, what were we thinking?
Mm-hmm. Vinyl pants with some of those same patterns, or like really aggressive zigzags in different colors. The neon featured a lot more prominently than it should be. Suspenders featured a lot more prominently than they should be, and overalls in general.
Isn't it weird how that felt totally normal at the time?
I mean, I guess we're all just byproducts of eras that we're currently in, but even so, I look back and I go, boy, this didn't even really look good at the time, and now as time has gone by, it looks horrible.
I mean, there's a few things that, as they're happening, I've seen fashion things that happen, and I'm like, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Like, for a while, there's a lot of girls that wore these high-waisted shorts and basically, long-sleeve bras, essentially, where show their midriff. And it's like, that's not a great look for everybody. So
and some eras hold up okay. Happen. There are things from the 80s style-wise that I look at and I go, yeah, either because it's come back since then or just it kind of holds up okay. The 90s in general, not a lot of things have held up well at all.
Hey, tying your long-sleeve shirt around your waist. Tying your sweatshirt around your waist. That's cool, right?
Well, Emily's fiance does that, and at the axe throwing thing, one of the axes actually got caught on his shirt from doing that. So it didn't hurt anybody. It still went through after all, but still, I was like, we should probably not, because he was he was doing one of those trick shots. So right by the waist where the sweater was tied around, and it just goes. It's like, let's not do that anymore.
Let's stop that one.
I'm not a fan of that. No, I don't like that.
Nope.
Well,
that's all I got.
That's all I have too. That's the end of this episode.
Very organic. It is. So, Shaun, Michelle, you suck, but enjoy your birthday, Shaun.
You know what? No one's disputing that. It's unanimous. It's 2-0. So who's going to stop
I
us?
know. Who's gonna fight us on this? They won't next week. They're not listening.
No.
So fine.
No, they never do.
Mm-hmm.
I never do,
So-
but that's because I had to edit them, and I hear them both when I'm recording them and when I edit them, so I'm not going to go back a third time.
I download them every week.
Good. You are one of the hundreds.
Yeah.
So by the way, since
I like
TalkShoe updated its site, we're actually still doing a lot better on listeners than I thought we were.
Hooray! People actually still listen. That's fantastic.
I mean, considering we've done 0 promotion since about 2015, I think that's pretty good overall.
I think we just got a few, standard listeners who listen, and we'd like your feedback. Please.
Yes.
Anything.
Oh, I just put
Anything.
I put a blue light on myself by looking at my work laptop. Oh, this is very unprofessional.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
hold
Just
on.
stop.
Hold on. Okay, good. No, wait, don't go to sleep.
Okay.
I still need you, but don't shine on me. Okay, good. All right. That's the end of this episode. In between shows, you can find us at our website, objectionnetwork.com. You can find us at other places listed at the bottom of the screen as well, like social media, which is at Team Objection. The email address is objectionnetwork@gmail.com, and the YouTube channel is youtube.com/objectionnetwork for new videos 7 days a week. See you next time.